Good evening, everyone. My name is Chuck Johnson, and I am the president of Summit Comedy, and here you are watching the Check Drop. So welcome. Today is Monday, September 28th, and I have an amazing guest with me. She's sitting here waiting in the wings for me to bring her on, and I've known this person for, I don't know, it seems like a million years, but we'll talk about this. But my guest today was the 2015 Campus Activities Magazine Female Performer of the Year, has been seen on NBC's Last Comic Standing, and her clean, dry bar comedy special, The Sharpest Knife on the Porch, can be seen on Amazon Prime. Please welcome to the Check Drop, Miss Jessi Campbell. Jessi!
Hello!
How are you, friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so happy to be with you right now.
I'm happy with you. I think you have to call me Mrs. because I'm married. Isn't it Mrs. or is it Ms.? Mers.
Well, there's like a...
Mers.
If you don't know, maybe you just say whatever, right?
I just want to make it very clear up top I'm not available. I just want to make it very clear. It's the first thing I want to get out in the open, that I'm not available.
So for the people watching live or listening on the podcast later, Jessi was really upset that I just now got her on at episode 16. That it's taken me this long to get her on.
We're like best friends. This is not okay.
Well, I knew I could count on you in a pinch whenever I needed to. So.
Oh, in a pinch when you're out of other comics? When you're out of people you want to interview?
No, you are for sure on the list. And I don't know how many more of these I'm going to do. I don't know. I mean, the demand may be there to... I don't know if anybody's watching. I mean, there's only 6 people watching live currently, so who knows?
Oh, that's more than... One of them's my husband and one's my sister, so there's really only 4.
My wife is yet to watch a single one of these, by the way.
You know what's funny? I was watching one, and I was one of 2 viewers once, and then I was messaging Tommy Ryman, and he was the other viewer. So it was just the 2 of us watching.
You're like, this looks pretty good. Hey, maybe he'll invite me on. It's like, sorry, Tommy, I'll get you on eventually here, too.
Oh, now you have to, because I name dropped him.
I know,
too.
right? He's one of the ones watching right now going, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Tommy, if you're watching, comment in the comments right now. Oh, my God. So how are you been through all this COVID mess?
I mean, emotionally, I've been housing ice cream like it's not going to exist. That's really just my coping mechanism. But
right.
I don't know. I think all comics, like, and a lot of people who work in the industry are having like an existential crisis. You know, it's like our job, our world no longer exists. It just doesn't. And I think about like every show I'm in, there's like 5 techs running the lights and running the whatever. You know, it's like every comedy club that has wait staff, and it's like, just our industry is just like, bye, like it's just over. So I think we're all having like a bit of an existential crisis on like who we're gonna be, you know.
Well,
so
do you feel though? I mean that it's getting better. I mean, I think like March, April, May was kind of like I felt what you felt. I was like, holy shit, we're batting down the hatches, and you know, I'm not doing virtual comedy. This is ridiculous. I'll just wait it out, and then now, obviously, hey, let's adapt. Let's pivot. Let's make this work. So
no, it's been. I mean, like I know a lot of guys that have had to get jobs, and I've had some virtual shows, and you know, I haven't had to do that, so I can't really complain. But it was like a weird. It all happened when I was on a cruise. Like I literally got off a cruise March 14th or March 13th, and then the next day was lockdown in Los Angeles. So we were like watching the news of like, oh, a woman got stabbed in Georgia over toilet paper. And like we landed and it was like, I was like running to the airport. Like I was like, okay, you know the stand at the beginning of the stand where that guy, you know the stand, the Stephen King thing?
Yeah.
Right? So at the beginning, there's like a virus breakout at a military base, and there's a guy that knows, like he knows it's a breakout, and he just like runs. And he's the whole reason the whole world falls apart. And I was like, I got off a cruise ship and I ran and got on an Uber. I ordered the Uber before I was off the ship. I get to the airport. I got an early flight home because I was like, they're going to make us go into quarantine. And so I was like, oh, I'm the guy from the stand. Like, I'm like I'm not helping. Like,
well, I always felt like
immediately, like,
I've known you a while, and I always feel like you kind of were almost prepared for this moment in this world. Because you've been like you're like a doomsday prepper type scenario.
Yeah.
And I think we used to joke about it going, yeah, that's not. I mean, I was the exact opposite when March 13th hit. My birthday was March 14th. So I'm at a bar which was kind of half open and was like, hey, I think we need to shut down, but come on in still and have a beer. And Shayla's like, I'm gonna take care of you for your birthday, and I'm like, this is depressing. By that time, I already had like maybe 45% of all of my shows canceled. So it's like,
Yeah.
happy birthday. It's like this blows. So yeah. So I was more like, hey, it'll be okay, and it seems like you're ready for this. So
Well, it was. I mean, I used to be more into that, and then kind of like, you kind of realize, like, we had an earthquake. I live in Los Angeles, and we had an earthquake a while ago. Like, there was like the big one was coming. We had a couple of them, and I listened to this whole podcast on how, like, even if the worst earthquake in the world hit here, it would take 2 days for the National Guard. You know, it's like, unless it's the end of the world, it's not the end of the world.
yeah.
You know, it's like the shelves were empty for a couple weeks. Like, it was definitely weird, and then it's fine now. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like, as soon as distribution catches up, unless it's the end of the world, it's fine. You know, so it's like a lot of actually my fears, a lot of them have been very eased by this whole thing, because now things seem, you know, it's like I wear a mask and I still go to the grocery store, and, you know, it's like I'm still eating M&Ms every night, you know?
Yeah. It's a weird normalization for this now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just
But it
walking around
shouldn't-
with the masks.
yeah.
And I mean, do you think now, like, in 5 years from now, people will still be wearing masks?
I'm gonna wear a mask forever. That's my plan. I do jokes about this on stage now and like in my virtual shows, but like I have a really sensitive sense of smell. Like, and it's actually my husband just made fun of me because we just went to visit my sister, and she just had a baby, and
Congratulations
I literally
again, by the way.
I will tell. She's watching, so congratulations. She's one of the people watching. And she goes, and literally we're traveling. So my husband has like his travel toiletries, and he sits down next to me on the couch, and I went, I smell a man. And he was like, what are you talking about? Because he has like a different deodorant when he travels. So like for me, the mask
His travel
is
deodorant?
yeah, and it smells like a whole different man. I'm like, who's this man? Like, he was really offended that I said a man. Like, that was like, I'm like, there's a man around, husband. Do you see a man? Like, but I'm just like, so I can smell people's breath really bad. Like, and the mask, I cannot be happier in this mask. Like, I don't smell anything, and it's like my favorite thing in the world. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll be wearing it forever.
Last week I went to the grocery store to pick up some stuff for a little get together we're having. It was a small get together. Don't judge me on the world. Don't judge me. But I get all the way there, and I literally walked out, and I looked down, and I was like, I see everybody wearing a mask, and I don't have one for whatever reason. I had to go all the way back. I was so pissed. Like, you know, I've been upset during this, you know, because the comedy world's in the shitter, et cetera. But I think that was the maddest I had been since this started. I was like, I'm over it. Like, this is done. Like, that I have to drive 4 miles back to my house to grab a damn mask to go back and just to get some milk and bread or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's I don't know. I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm very pro-mask, and like I mean, I don't want to get political, but it's like the people not wearing masks are why things are still shitty. Like, just wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart, we'd be done. You know, and it's like, oh, it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that are frustrating that people do, and that'll never go away, like racism. There's that.
We haven't solved it yet. I mean, honestly, are we still not solving that?
Okay, yeah. So
I don't know if the two of us should talk about it. My color's the same as my shirt, my face, so I'm like, I don't know if I have the right to talk about it. Like, I feel like I don't.
Your shirt's black right there. See,
I'm saying it's. Oh, that's true. I don't see color actually. Honestly, Chuck, I don't see color. I couldn't tell.
Oh my god. So you have a son who is now 4 years old. How old is he?
4. A bunch of pictures of him.
4.
Yeah, he's 4.
So this is his world. Like, he doesn't know any different. So,
dude, I'm like,
how is that
so bad for him.
with a child like coming into this world? I mean, because at 1 and 2 you don't know shit anyways, right? I mean, so you know, 3 and 4, that's kind of where you start kind of getting into like, you know, hey, this is what's going on in the world. And now he's like, oh, mom, like, you don't have your mask, so.
Yeah, it's been tough for him. Like, he literally, we would go to the park on Sundays with friends, and he would go to Baby, just called my gym. He had a dance class, he had preschool, all this stuff, and then he's just like, no, you're gonna be inside with us 24 hours a day, you know. And it's just like, it was hard for him. And he's back in preschool now, but it was just like, it was hard for months and months and months. And I'm like, there's no way to explain to him, you know. I'm like, there's people that are sick, man. Yeah. Like, there's no way to explain to him, like, hey, there's a pandemic. Like, do you know what a pandemic is? You're 4. You know, like, he's an amateur paleontologist. Like, he'll tell you all about Spinosauruses, but he doesn't know shit about pandemics. Like, he's useless. So it's been, like, really hard to, like, explain it to him. But he's also, like, kids are pliable. Like, we literally told him, I'm like, you want to go to Target, you got to wear a mask. And he's like, okay. And he just wears, you know, so it's like, he behaves better than most grown-ups because an authority figure said, hey, it's probably a good idea to wear a mask. And he was like, I hear you. So
Well,
it's,
yeah,
it's hard. But.
Again, if the rest of the world will just listen and comply like children do. Okay. You're going to get in trouble if you don't. Okay. All right. I'm going to do it.
I was talking about that with somebody like, man, I wish we had a totalitarian government, man. People be doing their shit. Like there is something to be said for China that's bolting people, like welding their doors shut. It's like, oh, that works. You know,
Right.
like, I'm like, oh, okay. I see what's happening.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, let's get right into your comedy history and past. First off, I'm trying to remember, how long have you and I been working together?
Dude, I mean, maybe 15 years. No,
Oh,
I would say
really?
13 years. Yeah,
Right.
a long time because I was maybe I would say probably about 14 years is my guess.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
I've used the story of you quite a bit, even on this podcast, about the first time you sent me a reel, and then
A VHS.
yeah, a VHS
It was a
reel.
VHS.
That's how long we've been
Yeah.
working together.
Yeah.
VHS time.
It's a VHS. Yeah.
And when you sent it to me, it wasn't the greatest production aspect, but that doesn't bother me when I watch comedians out there. I mean, I don't care if it looks like shit as long as you are still funny. I can't use that for obviously promotional reels and such, but I use that a lot with you. That you sent me a reel that wasn't very good. It was the back of a bar, and you could hardly see yourself, but the content was great and it was funny and such. But the story I tell is that when you may have stretched the truth a bit when
My God, I have a rebuttal to this story.
So I out there listening, I had asked Jessie, is like, hey, do you have an hour of material? We were specifically looking at the college market, and you need that much time. And she goes, yeah, I sure do. And we move forward in representation, and the first showcase, you were actually at an APCA conference in Atlanta, and you murdered. You killed it. It was just great, and you got a ton of work. And then I think it was later on that next semester you told me that you didn't have that hour, but you did at that time. By the time you went to your first show.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what like.
So what is your
you
rebuttal?
Always tell this story. Okay, so you tell this story like I'm some big liar. Okay, which first of all I am. Fine,
I said
whatever,
stretch
fine.
the truth. I didn't say call you a liar.
But here's the thing: I spent all summer working on new material, so like I didn't have it then. But then when I needed it, like I knew I had time. Like this was like February, and I knew it was going to be till like August, September, when I needed the material. So I spent all summer like every day writing, doing open mics like 6 nights a week. Like when I did gigs, like doing new jokes. Like I spent all summer and I wrote, brand new 40 minutes or whatever I needed. So it's like I think it's stretching the truth, but I also knew that I had it in me. Like if you told me today, hey,
Right.
in December, I need you to have a new hour, I would have a new hour by December. It's like, so like, I think it's just about like I have like a pretty strong work ethic when I feel like it. Like, so when I knew I needed to, so.
I have a pretty strong work ethic sometimes.
Yeah. When I haven't been doing nothing now, but like maybe this fall I'll try to work on some new stuff. But like, I knew I needed the time.
And then because those not watching or watching or listening later on as well, usually at those conferences you don't get your first actual date of working until about 5 to 6 months after a showcase, typically. So yeah. You did everything right. You did everything right.
I did everything right.
And I mean, and it got you, on board Summit. I mean, and we've been working ever since. So it's a beautiful thing. So
I have the luxury of not stressing. It's like I basically work a school schedule, and like if I'm like I have the summer off, I'm like I guess I have the summer off, and that's like really a luxury for comedians. To be like I have 2 months off, and I'm like I don't think I'm gonna work. Like I think I'll just play video games. Like that's kind of
I mean, and you. I guess early on you were still doing a lot of everything, clubs and colleges, and then eventually we started getting you into cruise ships and such. But now, over the last 5 years or so, you haven't done many clubs. Is that correct?
No, and if there's any comics that are gonna watch this, I think that's been a mistake. Like I'll honestly say, like there's guys that I really look up to and really respect.
A mistake that you haven't worked any clubs?
Yeah,
okay.
like guys like Tommy and Roy like set aside that time. Like they were like, I need to do clubs, and I was like, well, why am I gonna? It's like I was featuring and co-headlining and headlining a couple, and it's like no money, and I was like, well, I'm making money at colleges. Like why would I, waste the time? But those are really valuable. It's like the clubs are so valuable for building a fan base and getting seen and meeting people. Like when you're on colleges, you're by yourself. Like you're literally, I travel by myself, I'm in my hotel by myself, I work by myself, and I go home. So you don't meet other comics. And clubs are so valuable to make friends and it's like there's people that I met in clubs 10 years ago that I run into today, and it's like no time has passed, but like you meet few and fewer people when you do colleges. So I should have sucked it up and done the clubs. Like I should have done it, and they're fun and they're a different audience, and you kind of like, I found my sets getting a little weaker because college audiences can be more patient. Yeah. So when you do clubs and when you do cruises, you get back to that more like, hey, you gotta like be punchier and be, like you could be a little slower on colleges. So then when I started cruises again and doing other clubs and stuff, I started to have to almost rewrite stronger material because they just need more of like more of a thing than colleges are much more patient. It's an hour. You can kind of stretch things out. Like
I don't know. I don't know if patient is a word, but it's also just they're just not knowledgeable of going to comedy clubs because a lot of comedy clubs you got to be 21 to go to.
Yeah.
So a lot of these college kids are 18, 19 years old watching live stand up for the very first time. I mean, I've had that many times. People come into the booth, go, "You're the funniest comedian I've ever seen," and I mentioned the story about Will Marfori once said that somebody came up to him and he goes, "How many have you seen?" Like, you. That was it. Yeah, that was the first one. You were the first one I've seen live. So, but So but the thing is, that's how you got your stripes, though. Working the clubs. You can't just dive right in and do an hour at a college. No. You have to work the road and such.
So it's I can think of it like the first like LA. Like people talk like, oh, you got to move to LA. It's like I'm a nobody. Like I'm not famous or anything, but like I will do a showcase with LA comics and I'll do better than them. And it's like because I have that road work. It's like there are guys just going up at an open mic in LA and they have 7 minutes and that's it. And it's like, well, they can't deal with any adversity or maybe like a glass breaks during their set and they just panic, because they don't have like you need that road work. You need that like experience. It's like the 10,000 hour thing. Like you need that before you're any good. I think.
Yeah. Do you hold true to that stereotype that you're not a real comedian until you're 10 years in? I've heard that quite a bit. Or you find your voice, I guess, after 10 years.
I feel like I always had my voice. Like if I watch a really old set, it's like still the same. Like I have the same cadence and everything, but like you get better at bad sets. Like Jeff told me. At some point, this was a while ago, so maybe it was like 10 years in, he goes, like, I would have like bad shows. And then all of a sudden he goes, oh, you haven't said you had a bad show. Not that I'm like, oh, I killed, but like I would have shows where I would come home and be like upset. Like, oh, this show went really bad. And then he goes, well, that hasn't been happening. And I realized it was me that when I would have a show that was like going bad, I would almost like fold into myself and like speak softer and not, like not be bothering the audience. And then now when a show's going bad, I take it up a notch and you can get them back. Or you can take a quiet audience and make them pay attention. And I think that's experience. It was like all of a sudden I had just gotten better. And I didn't even realize I'd gotten better. Like I didn't even know what had happened. But it's like, so I think that kind of like, you need time for that. Like I'll watch people struggle on stage. I go, hey, you just got to be, like, if they just gave it a little bit more, they could turn these people, but you have to learn that from the inside before, and that takes a lot of time, I think.
And how long do you think you were into your career before you had that?
Probably 10 years
to be able to pivot and
a long time. Like I've been on the road full time since I was like 22, 23, like something like I was really young, and I started headlining when I was like 25, 26, and I think even then I probably couldn't do it that well. But like I started when I was 18, and I would say I was probably like 30 before I was even able to like do that kind of stuff. And some people are better, some people move faster, but like I just think it takes time. It takes time to get good at that.
Noted. I got a question in the comments here. My buddy Andrew, love to know what comedians inspired you, I guess, to start doing stand up. I mean, obviously you started so young at 18.
Yeah.
I think you comics either start really early like that or really late. There's not too many that say, yeah, I started when I was 32. I feel so. You went the young route.
That's what I was 13 when I knew I wanted to be a comic, and I was under 18. My parents were sneaking me into the local comedy club, and then I was 18 right I graduated high school and then did my first open mic. So that was like that was it for me. I knew I was going to be a comic my whole life. I already knew.
And why was that? Was there something? Did you watch an HBO special or something?
Yeah, I did.
Underneath, like hiding behind the couch watching Eddie Murphy or something.
Yeah. So I grew up on comedy. Like my parents are comedy fans, and we used to listen. Like my mom had like Bill Cosby records, which like you're not allowed to say you're like Bill Cosby now. But like when I was like a kid,
say that.
When I was a kid, we would listen. You know, it's like Give Us a Chocolate Cake. Like we would like when we were kids, we listened to these records. And then when I was 13, I think I was 13. Richard Jenny, do you remember him? He had this big special platypus man.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what was the animal? Yeah, platypus.
Platypus man.
Yeah.
And my parents, so it was on VHS. My parents would let me watch to like a certain point because it was like clean and then he like closed dirty. And so like at a certain point they would not let us watch the rest of it. So when they went to bed, because my mom sleeps like you just murdered her, like she doesn't wake up. So we just do whatever we want in the house. I would go and
analogy of how she sleeps. Is she watching here too? Jesus.
No, honestly she was just murdered, so I probably shouldn't say that. No, I was kidding. But like they would go to bed and I would put the tape back in and watch the dirty material. And like I was so excited to like get to watch this. And I was 13 when I watched that and I was like, this is it. Like I knew that. And I wrote my first joke. I actually have it. I gotta find it. It's on a piece of paper.
So Richard Jenny was your inspiration.
Yeah, which is like kind of embarrassing now because it's like terrible 90s comedy. But
yeah, I don't remember him much. I mean, then did he commit suicide?
He did. He did. He's super dead.
As I'm laughing, I shouldn't laugh, but I'm laughing at your response. But
you're like,
I couldn't remember. I knew he died, but I couldn't remember how he died. So
I honestly don't remember how. It's been a while. I think he died a while ago though.
Yeah.
So that makes it more funny.
Gone too soon. Death by like strangled by a platypus.
Yeah. Ironically, that's what happened. But that was like, I knew when I was 13, I was like, this is because he just like, he was super energetic and like, I was like, this is it. Like, I knew that's what I wanted to do forever.
Yeah. Chris Killian says hello. I guess that's a hello.
Dude, can I tell you something funny about Chris?
I hope he's still watching.
Okay. I have to tell you about the first time I worked with him. Just like this really funny story. So he and I worked together at a college and he was going first and I was going after him. And he and I are talking. This is the first time we ever met.
I'm glad I put that order, at least that. If it was his first time doing a college. Like,
I'm saying, it was the first time we worked together. I don't know if it was his first college.
All right.
But I talked to him before the show. We're meeting, never met him. And he had what looked like herpes all over his face. Okay.
He goes, no.
So I start texting. I think it was Rob at the time or you. I start texting like, don't ever book me with this guy again. Like I'm panicking because we have to share a microphone. And I was like, no, like I'm texting, I'm angry. And then I literally took an alcohol wipe and wiped the microphone after him because I just had to go, like he introduced me. And then after the show, he comes up and he goes, I fell off a motorcycle. Like, can you see? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, dude, I've been telling people you have herpes. Like I was like already telling people, and I was like, "You should."
Without even asking, you just went right in.
No. I'm a terrible person, like, dude. But it was like,
sorry, Chris.
Right away, like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I felt so bad, but it was also like really funny that I was like, I've already been telling people not to make out with you. Like, I've already been warning people. Like,
maybe we should just go down everybody on the Summit Comedy roster and see if you have a funny story about every one of them.
I mean, the odds are I do, but it was just like I felt so bad, but it was
Eric O'Shea, you're up next.
Yeah. Oh, let me, girl. I was kidding. I But no, it was just like, I felt so bad, but it was so funny at the time. You know what I mean? Like I was like angrily texting that I did not want to work with him again. Like,
that's so funny. Chris was my very first guest on the Check Drop.
Oh, I don't know if I watched that one. I should have. Yeah, I love him. He's amazing.
He had just had a wreck on his motorcycle and his face was on this time.
Again? Did he not mention it and you thought he had herpes?
All right, so you were in Arizona with us when you grew up, correct? All right, so what was the first club that you I guess stumbled into, or like how did it work? Was that planned? Like, hey, I'm gonna write a couple minutes. Did you do an open mic, or what was your process of getting on stage for the very first time?
I got very lucky. So my parents were super encouraging and really like helpful, and they still they're very proud of what I do. So my mom took me to an open mic. When I was like 18, my mom took me just a bar, and I was like too scared. I didn't go on. Like I'm actually like very shy and like introverted when I don't know people. Like I actually don't talk to people in public and stuff. And then my dad found this.
Most people are that way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm just like, but
Just
people
don't
expect
randomly
like
go
I'm not
off.
like, yeah, I'm not in public like, hey everybody, like I'm not like that in public. But like, my dad found an ad in the newspaper for a comedy class at our local comedy club, and
Okay.
my dad literally called the number and handed me the phone. Like my dad made me do it. So I took a class, which I know a lot of those are like scams, they're not very good. But the guy who taught the class, like to this day, I feel like I still follow the things he told me. And so I took this class. So it was like 8 weeks or whatever. And then afterwards, you get to do a set at Laughs in Tucson, was a local club. And I went up and just like, I mean, it's all your friends and family. You know, you're set up for success, which is like the point. And I
Right,
just
yeah.
went up and like
So it's like
murdered.
the ultimate bringer show, right? You just get all your family to
dude,
come out.
It's like all your friends and family of all the people. So everybody's clapping, you know, and I like murder. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, I'm really good at this. And then I
Did
just
you
ate
really
it for, like,
Murder?
dude, well, here's the thing. Like the first time
I
you're
want
that
to see
nerds,
this.
you know?
Do you have it on?
Dude.
Yeah, have it on VHS,
I mean, I think I have it on like well, a laser disc or something. I don't know what I have.
Blu-ray.
But like then for like, dude, 6 months after that, I didn't get a single laugh. You know, you have that like beginner's luck a lot, and then literally like a year, I open mic every week and just no laughs, no laughs, no laughs.
Like, what happened?
You know?
I
Yeah,
killed that first
yeah.
night.
But you get that taste, so you think like I can get that back. You get that taste, and
Yeah.
then just never, like for a long time I was like super shitty. So
How long was the class? How many like weeks?
I think,
or-
it was like 8 weeks, 12 weeks. I mean, I
Really?
honestly couldn't. I don't. I mean, it was so long ago. I don't remember.
And
So, yeah.
do you remember the comic's name, or was it not? Or was it?
Oh,
a
it was
comedian?
his name's Tim Farrell. He used to be like an improviser. He lives in, I think, upstate New York, and now he doesn't live in Arizona anymore.
Okay.
But,
Cool.
yeah.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did
Took
that.
class.
I could see you looking
I know.
down upon those, like, bleh, comedy
Well,
classes.
There's been some.
Now,
I'm not
maybe, I
gonna.
guess.
I mean, there's been some that were like. I'm not gonna say any names. But there's a guy that did him in Minneapolis, and it was like a scam, and he's like an insane person. You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's like a crazy. You know, it's like so. But I know, and I have friends that teach him. It's like I know people who do that. So I think you have to. I think it's almost just who teaches it. Like, and what's the point of it?
Yeah, and
So,
maybe just like do your research. I guess comedians that are out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
just check around with other comedians and find out which ones are the shitty ones and which ones are
Yeah.
actually,
There was one guy. He's like, "You'll be $1 million headliner if you take my class." It's like, no, you fucking won't. It's like, you're not $1 million headliner. You know, it's like,
Right.
So it just kind of,
Yeah.
It's
It's one of those. It's like those get rich quick, classes or whatever. Like, are you a millionaire? Well,
Yeah, yeah,
not yet. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
bye.
It's exactly what it is.
Did you start out with any other comedians, like in a group that you kind of bonded together and kind of moved up the ranks together, or
Oh,
were
there's
you
a
kind
bunch of us.
mostly
No,
solo?
there's I started with Dan Soder. We started together.
Yeah, I remember you
and,
telling me that about Dan.
Yeah, we started together.
I have to get Dan on here next week.
You should get him on. He's a little busy. He's a little
Yeah,
big for the check drop.
he's doing
I'm not
pretty-
busy. I'm not busy, Chuck.
He's doing pretty well. Good for
Yeah,
him.
I started with Dan. I started with a guy named Johnny Schwartzbein. He does improv here in LA. Like, I started with a couple of guys that are still doing it, and we see each other on the road and stuff. And yeah, it's like, I was just telling Jeff about it because Jeff, my husband, and I met. We were both doing open mics together, and
Yeah.
it just when you think back now, like the good old days was like me, Schwartzbein, Lehrman, Joe Henry, Jeff. Like we'd all just sit in Schwartzbein's backyard and smoke cigarettes and talk comedy. We're like 18 years old, it's like those are the good old days, like we didn't know that these are going to be our lives, So I always think about that.
I've got another question here. Jim Ball, if she had to open up for any headliner, who would she pick and why? I assume, do you have anybody on your bucket list? Like, I just would love to work for that person one time.
It's so funny because there's guys I like that you think like, of course, like, I mean, I love Chappelle like anybody else, but it's like, I feel like I would just eat it in front of him. It's like, so I don't know if I'd want to open for him because I don't feel like we have the same audience. And
You'll
like,
find
I'd be
that
up,
voice.
like,
You'll find that voice at
Dude.
25 years, I guess.
dude, I'm like, oh, if I open for Chappelle, I'm like, you guys, it's weird when you poop, and they're like, boo, it's like it's not my jam. So there's a lot of guys that I like that I don't even think I'd be a good opener for. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's guys that I like that I've opened for. There's guys to this day I would still open for, and still, I think that we pair well and everything. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I like a lot of guys that I think I wouldn't work well with.
I like asking this question too. Like, has there been anybody you've opened for that you had, I guess you put on a pedestal, and then you got to meet them, and they're like, oh, that guy or gal is just an asshole.
Oh, I mean, I have so many stories. I got in a fight with a guy in a club in front of the audience. Like, I have so many stories. I was a 25-year-old girl on the road. Like, yeah, a guy tried to drag my mattress once outside the condo to the bed because he said openers sleep outside. Like, yeah, I got there's been a couple guys. I worked with one guy. I'm not going to say his name because why would I? But he's really big. He's really, really big. And I was opening for him at a Funny Bone. And he first of all shows like 8
girthy or
no,
famous?
not one of the fat guys. Yeah, he's like, I mean, he's a little less famous now, which is very satisfying. But he's he was huge at the time, and now he's a little smaller.
Like Chris D'Elia.
Oh no! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Sorry.
Too soon?
Too soon.
He's one of those guys. I've never met him. I don't know anything about him, but I was so happy when he just got taken down because I don't like his comedy. Yeah. And I'm just like, good, one guy who's not good at comedy is out of the business, whatever. But I also hate people that come from rich families. Like, he comes from a rich family, so I just instantly hate him.
Well,
so I'm
Jessi,
just like,
you can't be judgmental that way.
I know, but I'm a bootstrap. I bootstrap myself. I'm bootstrapped.
I feel like you're my little sister. I gotta keep you in check here.
No, I mean, I can make fun of Chris D'Elia and Bill Cosby. I'm like, I'm not naming the guys I've worked with.
Right. Yeah.
But
and you're not telling anything that nobody can just Google and find out about those people right now. Yeah. I think everybody knows now about Bill Cosby. I think everybody.
You don't get far in comedy also not being diplomatic. You know what I mean? Like, we all gossip. We're all chicken hens just gossiping and stuff. But, like, I would not go on a podcast and talk shit about someone. Like, you just don't do that, you know? And you don't do that in any profession. I'm not going to do it in mine, Like, it's just not something you do.
No.
But I worked with a guy. I worked with a guy. And I was like, I loved him. I saw him at a theater. Jeff and I went and saw him at a theater. That's how much I loved him. Like, I'd seen him more than once, and then I got to work with him, and I was so excited. And there was an 8 o'clock and a 10:30 Friday, Saturday night. I was headlining the front of the week, and then it was co-headline or whatever, split week, and then I was featuring. And 8 o'clock show rolls around. The openers, he says he only wants 20 minutes in front of him. That's like a big thing. So the opener does 5, and the opener's a buddy of mine, and then I do 15. And then they're motioning me from the back of the room because he still wasn't there. And so they were like, just keep going. So I keep going, or whatever. And then I get off because I'm like assuming, like, I did like 25 minutes. I'm like, this is crazy. He's obviously here. And the opener comes back on and does like 15 more minutes. He's still not there. Right. So he doesn't show up until like 9 o'clock. We're just doing all this time. And so the audience, because he's kind of.
Did you have the time or you were like stretching like,
no,
I'm running out?
I had headlined like Wednesday, Thursday. Like I had the time. But like, and he's still not there. And then he finally shows up. And so the show's really, and he's one of these like dirty comics. And so the audience are rough. The audience are dudes like not being entertained by me in the opener. They're there for dick jokes. And then the late show starts late because it's supposed to start at 10:30, but he was so late and he goes over. So the late show starts at like 11:30. And this happens both nights. And the audiences are getting angry and rowdy. And I don't blame them. Like at one point I told the opener, I was like, I'm going to go on and say he's not here just so that we're not thrown to the wolves. Like it's not our fault that he's like not here, So then the late show. And of course we were not allowed in the green room, like all this shit, where it's like, we're not allowed to look him in the eye, all this bull. And then the very last show, he comes up to me and he goes, what the fuck's with this guy? I didn't talk to him all week. Didn't know him. And he goes, what the fuck's wrong with this audience? And I'm like, it's your audience, like, because you're not here, man. It's like, I was like, oh, I don't know, man. But it's like these guys that just like create these problems. And then he was mad they were rowdy for his show. And I'm like, you're an hour late.
Like, show.
What do you think? Yeah. And I'm like, I've been up there for 30 minutes. They're not here to see me, like what? And it's just like mind boggling. And then he was just like blaming the audience. And then now he's like super not famous. So it's very satisfying. Like super, super satisfying.
That's awesome.
So,
my good buddy Dave Zemansky, you talked about how Jessi sent in a VHS, but how did you inquire about her? I believe.
Hi, Dave.
I believe you just sent it in randomly, as many comedians do.
Yeah. I didn't even know you did colleges. I moved from Arizona to Minnesota, and when I moved for my husband's job, I learned about one-nighters. I didn't even know what a one-nighter was, and you booked some one-nighters. So I literally just I went on some website, I can't remember the name of it, that had like a list of all these bookers that booked one-nighters. So I just sent a VHS to everyone on the list, just like, I want to get work in the Midwest. Like, that's how you, like, I didn't know then, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just sent you one of the tapes. Like, I didn't even know who you were. And then you asked me if I wanted to do colleges, and I knew that was like a prestigious thing. Like, I knew like getting into colleges was difficult and everything. So obviously I said yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's funny because the first, when Summit first started, I was more the one-nighters and such. Because that was it's easier to find that. You get a club that was doing comedy on a weekly basis. You knew you get your commission check coming in every week. So I remember that was my game plan, to get like 10, 12 one-nighters. So that's usually about $100 a week off of those. So I was like, man, if I could just make... I kind of looked at starting my business like as a comedian. I was at a point where I was like, man, I'm like an MC, but I'm working every week.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I got up to that, hey, I'm a feature
Yeah.
status now. I'm feeling good. And then once I got to that headliner spot about 3 or 4 years in, you know, and that's kind of how I looked at that. But
Yeah.
it flip-flopped, because I used to do more one-nighters, and then the college market kind of took off, and I kind of seeing how profitable that was, and I just knew that market pretty well since starting as a campus activities programmer in college myself. So I felt like I had my finger on the pulse of all that, and that's why when I saw you, when you had sent that in, I was like, oh, this girl, she's great. Plus, there's not a lot of funny female clean comedians, and that and you check those boxes. So and even to this day, it's still hard to find funny, clean females. There's lots of funny female comedians, but as far as the edginess and such, that they can tailor the content to that college market, it's there. I mean, if any females are out there, I mean, Jesus, I'm always looking. I mean, so
yeah.
Well,
I think that's almost like, it's really hard to be a female comic, and I talk about this all the time, but there are so many shows where I go, and not colleges, mostly not, because they're kind of they're younger and they've kind of grown up a little different, but you go to a club and there's a 40-year-old man with and that's like, and you have to deal with that. Yeah, it's like and that's it. And it's like, so a lot of women will do dirty material because I'll get those guys. And like, I do dirty, like I can do dirty. I actually enjoy doing dirty, but I can't, like, I also mostly just do clean, just out of habit now.
Okay. I've never thought of that approach. That's why they tailor
the because they want to fit in, and they got to be one of the guys, and they have to, like, I can't go up and be like, oh, I had my perineum teared when I gave birth to my son. You're not going to make those guys laugh doing that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not.
Yeah,
do women have a perineum? I don't think that's what it's called.
Then, but back in the day, like the clean comedians, like say Ellen or who's the other one? I'm trying to think. Paula Poundstone was famously clean. So I think they were probably had it a little bit easier because there wasn't as many female comedians out there. So they're just I don't know. I mean,
there's a lot of guys.
What do you say when people say females aren't funny? I mean, because that's been in the news quite a bit. Not as of late, but like there was a stretch in about 6 years ago. I remember articles are coming out and it's just saying that. And
I actually have a logical answer to that.
Oh,
and besides the emotional one of guys that say that are pieces of shit, like those are guys who've never pleased their wife, and I truly believe that. Like, but like
Good job,
I actually
Jessie.
have. Thank you. Good shock. All right, I'm out of here. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna lean out.
Mic drop on the tech drop.
Yeah, I have a logical numbers answer. I actually have an answer. Is that when you see, so there's a smaller ratio of women in comedy. So for every 100 men you see, there's 10 women. Okay, so it's the same ratio. Okay. But if you find 90 of those guys not funny and 10 of those guys funny, 10%, you go, oh, I didn't like those other guys, but I like those guys. But if you see 10 women and you think 9 of them aren't funny, you say women aren't funny. But it's just a numbers game. You are enjoying the same ratio, but you notice because if there's a show with 10 men or 9 men and 1 woman, and you didn't like her, but you also didn't like 8 of the guys, you're not gonna say, oh, I don't think men are funny, but the same ratio, you didn't enjoy the women. So people, I think, don't realize that it's a numbers game.
And people are dumb at math.
People are dumb. Look, I don't even know if I did the math right on that.
I think so. I was doing it. I was like, that's 10% of that and 10% of...
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I genuinely believe it's a numbers game of you not realizing. It's like if you drive by 10 blue cars and 9 of them are driving shitty, and you drive by 1 red car that's driving, you go, oh, the guy in the red, whatever. It's like, so you point out the thing that's different. but it's not. Women are not less funny. There's just less doing funny things. So
Right.
the ones that you don't like, you think, oh, women aren't funny.
Because you can watch 10 women and think one is great and 9 are
Exactly.
not. And just
But you watch 100 men and only 9 of them make you laugh, and you go, oh, well, those guys weren't funny, but these guys. You don't think about it that way.
right.
So yeah, I think it's just a numbers game. I truly believe
I'm
that.
glad I asked that question because I like your math and
I was
equation.
saying it's just a math answer, and women can do math too. I hear. So
You hear.
just saying. I count on my fingers. My sister's always like, I literally will count on my fingers for things. I'm like, I'm doing math. She's like, you're adding. Why are you doing that on your fingers? Like,
There's many a time I remember like talking to you about commissions, and you're like, I don't know, I suck at math. I could be sending you more than I need to, but it's like I'll keep you.
I just send you money. If you just tell me, send me this money, I will send you the money. Like I just send it to you. I don't ask. So yeah.
Maybe I'm doing it all wrong over here. It's like no, it's 80%.
Yeah, if you just told me a number, I would just write you a check. Like I don't even understand why
You're
I'm not
telling me
supposed
way
to do
too
that.
much now, especially during the times where I might need some of this extra money.
Yeah, times are tough. Times are tough, Jack.
Times are tough. And I mean, kid in college now, man. This shit's pricey. So.
Yeah. Is he still there?
Yeah, we actually were up there this past weekend, and he doesn't like it, but he is there, and he comes home quite a bit more than you would think you would. But yeah, he's gonna be up there for at least another week and a half. So, and then he comes home on like events, for his friends' birthdays and such. And
Yeah.
but I don't blame him.
I just meant like COVID-wise, like it's still open and everything.
Yeah, he plays the game every day. He looks at the tally because there's a tally on the website. So what do you think? Over under?
Yeah.
121. So yeah. It's good times. 2020.
This is, I mean, it's bad. Things are bad.
So you mentioned your husband. I knew he did stand up, and you met in Arizona as well, and you met at a club.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what sparked him to not follow that comedy dream and let you do your comedy dream? I mean, because that seems it's out of the norm, I would say. If
Well, I wouldn't really put it that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't sacrifice his dream. Yeah, no, like, hey, he's not. I'm not like, hey, I got him shut in the closet. He does what I say. Like, it's not like that. Like, it wasn't.
I love your husband, by the way. So
yeah, he's playing Spider-Man Into the Universe, whatever that game is right now.
Is anybody watching your kid?
Oh, he's at preschool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we pay people to not deal with our son. Okay.
All right, just checking.
No, I have to when I do virtual shows. I have to I rent like a studio space because I'm like, my son, if he heard me talking in another room, would be like, "What are you doing? What's going on? Who are you talking to?" And I'd be like, have to pick him up during shows.
You don't want to put him into your act?
Oh, I would. He's so cute. People would love him. He's super cute. He's really, really adorable.
Yeah.
But he doesn't find me funny, like which is hurtful.
Yeah. Well, nobody in my family does. I'm not a comedian, but yeah, you would think they'd laugh a little bit at your jokes. But yeah.
But no, Jeff was like, we both did it, but we tried to buy a club once. Long story that I'm not going to tell him this, but like, yeah, we tried to buy a club, but he like that was always his dream. Was more to like be on the business end of it. So, and that's something we've talked about, which certainly we're not buying a business in 2020. It's not, we're not going to open a business that relies on crowds now. But like, that was always more his thing. So he did it a lot too. Like he likes being involved, but it's like, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like the same. Like I was like, I'm like, this is just what I do, So it was like a little different.
If you weren't a comedian, what would you be now? What's your plan B? If say COVID shut it down 100% entirely, what would you do besides being a mom?
Well, I write. Like that's more my main what I'm like passionate about. Like this is really weird to say, but I feel like I fell into comedy. Okay. Like I was like always funny, always wanted to be a comic, but my passion has always been writing. Like I've always spent like hours writing, to and then performing. Like I feel like I'm just like naturally good at performing, but it's not like I've always wanted to be a writer, so I've just been writing. Like I've written 2 movies so far this year, 2 screenplays, and like I'm putting together a pitch deck for this pilot. Like that's just more like I want to do something more difficult than comedy. I want to do something with a harder chance of being successful. I'm like maybe lightning will strike twice for me. Maybe this can happen twice. Like
hey, you won't know if you don't try.
I know. It's like that's just like I I submitted screenplays to contests this year and made it pretty far. You know, it's like so. Like that's what I spend my time doing. And when my son's at school, I just write all day. So
right.
yeah, but
So
I don't know what I would do. So yeah.
That's you just throwing scripts in a universe and see if they come back and with a
That's really
with
like
$1 million
I'm
offer.
writing like super weird dramatic screenplays, and I'm hoping someday that something will happen with them. So yeah,
It might happen.
yeah, you never know.
So so what is your happy place outside of stand up?
I mean, my family. Like, I don't know. What's my happy place?
Well, I know
know.
you used to be a gamer. I mean, I know
Yeah,
that was about
it was-
you. Like,
yeah.
I used to kind of like try to describe your comedy to people, and it was hard because like I felt like you always just one of the bros, you know.
Well, that's what, like, yeah, I think that too, like, when I think with female comics, like, myself personally, like, I've never viewed myself, like, as a woman, like, I don't view the world through that lens, and a weird, like, I don't know how to describe this, so I'm just, like, I just hang out, you know, it's like, my mom was like that, where she didn't raise us, like, with tea parties, and, you know, we weren't raised that way, so it's like, we're just people. You know, and like I think that kind of translates to my comedy is just like I'm just a person. Like I'm not up here talking about female problems. You know, I'm up here just a person talking about my things. You know, but yeah, I play video games. I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I just finished it and I'm playing it again. I literally stopped it, like I finished it and then restarted it. So that's what I'm doing in my free time right now.
I asked because I thought I'd seen something that you had sold your games or gave them away or something. And
That was
like,
I didn't realize that was a misleading post because we finally got rid of our PlayStation 3, which is the old one. We're like, because I played over 1,000 hours of Fallout, and so I got rid of my Fallout. But we have a PlayStation 4. I'm not out of games. We just bought a Switch. Like I'm not out of games.
Yeah, didn't I buy you a Fallout something for your when Owen was born? Like
you bought me a Fallout onesie. I actually have a
what it
picture
was.
of it. But yeah, you bought me a Fallout onesie.
That's how much I knew you were committed.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm trying to find it, but it's gonna be so. Ugh, anyway, I can't.
So, like, as far as stand-up goes, I mean, obviously you still enjoy it, I'm assuming, or is
Yeah.
it just like, hey,
You know-
I backed myself into a corner and this is all I can do?
Dude, Bill Burr said something like a while ago where he said it's almost like you've been in prison because you reach a certain point where you're at a certain age where you can't like come out of it. It's like when you get released from prison, you have no job experience, no nothing. Like no one's gonna hire you. It's like I'm like I didn't go to college. I've been doing. There's nothing on my resume. Like I'm gonna put like the funny bone on my resume. You know what I mean? It's like there's no. So you have to keep going. You know, like you
Absolutely.
don't have a choice. Like, but I also like I thought I wouldn't miss it. And then I did a live show, you know, like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I could not believe like how excited I was to go up. Like,
Were you rusty?
I tell myself, no. You know what's so funny? I mean, I've been doing the virtual shows, which is not the same, but I have been saying the jokes. But then just getting up there, it was like, because I'm a big like. I've been doing comedy so long, and like I know my sets, you know, I know my jokes, but I'll write them out over and over again. Like if I have a show, I'll write them out like 100 times. And so then when I get up there, I don't have to worry about that. And like the second I got up there, it was just like, I was so excited to be up there. I didn't feel rusty. You know, the show went well. I didn't feel rusty. I think also I brought that like newbie excitement, you know, where it's like, it's been so long and I was like super excited to go up.
Did you have your mask on or no?
I took it off. I kept it on the whole time, and then I took it off when I got up there. And the guy introduced me, and he had a mask on. I was like, "You leave that." I was like, "If he takes that off and talks in the microphone," I was like, "I'm gonna lose my mind." I was like, "I'm gonna lose my mind."
Yeah, you
So,
mentioned wiping down after Chris Killian, and it's something I guess I've never really thought about it, like the germs aspect. I'm sure there's so many.
Oh, when you're at an open mic and you're sharing a microphone with 10 people, like that's fucking gross. That's fucking. You can smell. I've had more than once where I could smell someone's breath. Like you can smell it on the microphone, and that makes my stomach turn.
So
like,
do you
it's
always
disgusting.
do that? Do you always clean the mic off before going up?
No, because you can't. Like then you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
Then you have to address the fact that you just wiped a microphone
You're
down.
the
I'll
Howie
just suffer, but
Mandel.
I will say something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a guy once it was actually at a college, so he was one of the like students, and he introduced me, and his breath was. I said something on stage, and then like I kind of made a joke about it. It was fine, but I mean I probably shouldn't have, but I did. I was just so like this is disgusting. And then the next year or 2 years later, I went back to that school and I told them that story, and the girl was like, "That's my boyfriend." Like it was like it was her boyfriend. And I was like, "Oh, does he got bad breath? I mean, what do you want me to say?" Like it's so bad. I say a lot of things I shouldn't. So, but what are you gonna
No, I don't know that about you. Do you ever see yourself retiring from stand-up, or is this something you just keep doing?
I don't like, my goal in life is to do nothing. That's like every day I only work to get to do nothing. Like that's, so it's like I only sit down and I'll make myself write. Like I wrote a screenplay from inception of the idea, from the very first moment to the finished draft was 51 days, which is like really, really fast because I'm like, if I finish this, then I can goof around.
But that's not
So,
doing, that's doing something.
Yeah, but then I get my reward is doing nothing. Like I will sit down.
You're
and
implying that you're just sitting on a couch, like just staring off into
like
space.
but I'm saying like that's my like literally like my son goes to preschool. He's gone from 8 to 4. So I'm like if I write from 8 to noon and I get like 20 pages done, then I can play video games for 4 hours. You know, with no consequences and no like I don't have to feel bad about my day. So I work really hard because I don't want to do anything ever. Like my goal is to make enough money that I'm like I don't have to get off my couch ever again. So I'm like working really hard to get to have that reward. Like, but then again, I was like really missing being, you know, it's like excited to get on stage.
I guess if you get to that level of richness, you can just do that.
Yeah.
You go, hey, I'll just go get up on stage whenever I want, and you don't even have to get paid. Just
I'm not there.
sorry, I'll try to book you more.
Dang, come on, man. We're in a pandemic. Come on. Gotta make some money.
I'm trying. These schools are really weird. Like a lot of them are just like booking like a week out type scenario, just because they're
you just booked me one for like 3 days from now. Or whatever.
right, because they're all pivoting on a dime, and they don't want to book any like too far out in advance, just because it's going to create more headaches for them. So, it's really weird how this is all panning out. It's good times. So,
it's been such a like. I feel lucky to have the work though. Like colleges too. Like it's really we're lucky they're open and we're lucky. I mean, luckier. I mean, maybe they're spreading the pandemic. Who knows? But it's like there's guys that aren't working right now. You know, so it's like I don't take it for granted.
Right. Well, like you just said, I don't know what else to do. You know, I am the same way. And when you book comedy for 25 years, you're like, oh, man. I mean,
well, at least you have business acumen. You know, it's like I don't even have that.
I have that, but where am I gonna go? What would I do? I like what I do, and that's the best part about my business. So if I had to go sell lawn equipment or something, oh my God, I'd slip my wrist on day one, I think.
That's what my sister always tells me. She's like, you can't work in a job. Yeah. We can't work jobs. Like if I had to go sit in an office for 8 hours, I would kill myself. Like you can't, we're not built for that kind of work.
Yeah. I mean, having to take direction from somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit.
That's
no way.
Comedians are so like when I've done, cruises and they're like, hey, have to go get a name badge. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't listen to people. You know, it's like you're so used to like, I'm my own boss. Like I book my own travel. I show up to a show. I do my show. It's like, wait, I have to go to a meeting? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, we don't want to do it. Like, yeah.
That pre-meeting, what's the all hands on deck or the
the mustard drill.
Yeah, the mustard drill. They go to your mustard stations. You have to do that, right?
Oh yeah, because you have to.
Or do you hide out in your room?
Well, we used to, and that was like super illegal. And so now they like make you go, and it's like it's.
Oh yeah, they do like a check-in with like your badge and everything. Like it's all.
Yeah, and now the last time I did, we had to get on the boats, like the rescue boats and shit, and it was like. I was like, I'm a comedian. Like, what am I doing here? You know, like I was like getting really angry. It's like, I'm here with the cooks.
I was just here 4 days ago on the ship on the last cruise. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you like doing the cruises?
You know, people look down on them, but they are like, I think that's changing now. You know, like as the landscape changes a little bit. Yeah. But they are so much fun, and they are like. It's like a party. Like I've worked with comics that I'm like, man, this is fun. Like we're having a great week. Like we're going to lunch together, then we do the shows. And, it's like then we watch the band afterwards. Like, and it's like fun. It's like going to a club, and they make you be clean, which a lot of people have a problem with, but I don't have a problem with. Like they're just normal shows. It's like I don't understand where I think there's this stigma from like the '90s in the early '20s. But like now that stigma's gone.
Yeah,
it's like
the stigma was that's where you go when your career dies. So.
Yeah, it's like and now normal. Like I know young guys doing them and guys that are on the up and up. It's like guys that are coming up. It's like because it's work and it's like we want to work.
Yeah.
So
I remember Roy Wood Jr. telling me one time, he goes, "Hey man, don't tell my manager, but just book me one on the side. I want to do one." And I was like, okay, but he'll probably find out. And he goes, "All right, man, don't worry about it then."
They're honestly like I've had. they're great to do. Like I do a lot of college and stuff, but almost like because clubs, the pay for clubs has not gone up. It's like
In
you make the
25
same new
years.
feature now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
weird.
I started comedy. It's like
Might have
they
gone down
like
even.
that's what it's like. I was doing a club where I would co-headline, and like this is a club I've done like a long time, and then the last time I did, I was like book it. She goes, oh, just so you know, there's no more hotel. It's like, wait, what? Like, so I'm supposed to come out for a week
You gonna sleep
and
in my
make
car?
no money. Yeah, I'm like, and then now you're just like, oh, by the way, there's no hotel. Like, wait, I'm sorry, what? So it's like, but then you go on a cruise, it's like, and you make more money, and then you have nothing, like things are provided.
Yeah,
But, you
they
don't have to
fly
spend
you
money
there
but
and-
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, so why would I look down on work that it's work where they were like, I mean, some lines don't respect you, but it's like where like you actually have like work and you don't have to worry about that stuff. Like there's so many places where you lose money. Like as a comic, you lose money for so
Right.
long. You make no money for so
Just
long.
to get on that stage.
Like, yeah. And it's like, why would I still do that? It's like crazy.
Yeah. When do you think the cruise ship market will be back?
Dude, it's one of those things that like, because I'm part of all those groups and stuff, is like everybody, oh, September, oh, October, oh, no, like, yo, it's not like they opened some in Europe and then they
Yeah.
closed them right back down. So,
Yeah, I
mean, I
got
don't know.
I got an email today from Carnival asking for I think it's the Mardi Gras. It's starting back in February, and they were looking for variety acts such as ventriloquists. And I'm like, man, I didn't know that they were already like kind of setting their
Yeah, I don't
sale
know.
dates, I guess. But I don't. That seems a little early. But you know what?
Yeah,
There's tons of people that are ready to go, and they don't believe in this shit, and they're ready to go. So, but they're gonna shut it all
Yeah.
down right after that, I guess, because it's
like the second, like
it's gonna take
the
one
ship
person.
I was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the ship I was on when we got off in March, like we were like, what's gonna happen? Because there was already a ship they weren't letting dock. So it's like, do you want to be on that ship where they go, you're not going home for 6 weeks? Like, do you want to be on that ship? Like, I think people are going to book them, but the second one of them is kept out at sea for anything, it's going to shut back down the second it happens.
Yeah, I mean they
So.
shut down. They already got enough bad press about them when somebody gets they have the food poisoning going on and such.
I got the norovirus on one.
Yeah, so
Oh yeah. Yeah. I lost 13 pounds in like 9 days. It was amazing. Like it was just incredible. It was so great. It was so amazing. I was so sick.
that's
It's
not
great.
the best weight loss program. But
Did I tell you
guess-
that's why I'm not? I used to be a vegan. I was a vegetarian for years.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I'm stupid. And then I had the norovirus and I didn't eat for over a week. I couldn't eat solid food. And then this one day I was back at home. I was like ravishingly hungry. I've never been that hungry in my life. Never. And I was like, if I don't get a hamburger in me right now, I'm going to murder someone. And I ate 2 hamburgers. It was the first guy I ate in like a week, and I never went back. Like that was like, my body wasn't like, I need kale. It was like, I need to eat a hamburger now. And I've never been vegetarian since, like never since. But that's
Yeah.
all it took was just norovirus. And then,
Yeah, well, you had already made up your mind that was a bad idea, anyways. I mean, because
yeah.
meat's so good.
it's so delicious. It's delicious. Nothing tastes as good as meat.
What's the one milestone in your career that if you obtained it, you would be completely happy with? Like that was a zenith. If never gets any better than that.
I don't know. I think probably stand-up wise is obviously like a Netflix special, because that's like, and although some of them,
You
it's
have a
like, I
dry
feel
bar
like
special.
that's very true. And that's been
Which-
like really great. Like,
Yeah,
that's been really good for me.
That's helped you. Has that helped your career?
Yeah.
You think?
I think so. And you build fans. It's like I'll get an email from someone like I started Dry Bar and it was hilarious. It's like, well, if that person took time out of their day to tell you how much they liked you. It's like that's like really that's touching because you don't have to do that. It's like that's not something that's required. Like I enjoy things and I just move on with my life. It's like so that's been really big for me. But just to reach a bigger audience, to be able to like fill a theater, it's like people who came to see you is like pretty crazy.
Yeah, they're
So.
doing the dry bar again. I think they start this weekend.
Yeah, I think you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, I booked like 9 or 10 for this go round.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running out of people to even like reach out to. But
I want to do another one, but I've been writing more dirty material. Like I've been purposely
Yeah.
like I have a 7-minute bit on Jeff getting high for the first time in his life as a 40-year-old man, and like so it's like I want to do that, but it's like I can't do that on Dry Bar.
Yeah, probably not the best avenue for that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, now they only have to do 20-minute sets instead of the 40. So I think they quickly realized too, like, wait, we've gone through all the comedians out in the U.S. can do 40 minutes, like, squeaky Mormon clean. So
the guy I worked with, they never aired his. Like, it was
there's
that.
A lot.
Like,
there's a lot they didn't air. So.
I know a couple other comics they didn't air too, because it's like people don't realize how hard it is to be funny and translate on tape and be clean, be 100% clean. Like, that's not easy.
I mean, you can't, like, you take it for granted, like, clean. You think clean, but then you think, like, it's not even TV clean. It's like squeaky. Like, you couldn't say the Lord's name in vain. I mean, that it's really clean.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they put like warnings, like they have a number of warnings, and you get like paid off like if you don't have a lot of warnings. I had 7 on mine.
Check marks.
Yeah.
Really? 7. Really?
That's what I'm telling you. Like, but it's like you would go like,
what are the check marks?
Well, see, I don't know what they are specific. I have to look it up. But it's like you say something like, "Oh, I hate dogs," and you go, "Well, you said hate." Like that's it's like so. Yeah. Even things where you think
I'm trying to quickly go through your set like. And I punch her in the face. Oh, violence.
Well, that's just it. Yeah. It's like
punch her in the back of the head.
Like that. Like like I think I didn't do that one because I used the B word in that. But it's like there's so many things like that where you don't think that it's like a bad joke, but they're like, oh no, you can't. That's not okay. Like
Funny. All right. Well, this is the part of the time that we have to wrap it up. It's the check drop. So we've already been
We've
been chatting for over an hour. Can you believe that?
Oh my God! It only feels like 58 minutes. I can't believe it's been an hour.
Well, we could chat for hours, but
That's true.
So I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we're gonna send you on your way. And let's do this. What is the worst gig you've ever had?
I mean,
I have two questions. We'll flip it around on the questions.
Okay.
Let's end with the worst gig you ever had, but also want to open up the door to you. Do you have any questions for me that you've always wanted to know, since you've been working with me for so long that you've never asked me or whatever?
We're pretty open.
Yeah.
It's
but I don't know if you, maybe I'm going to start doing that. Like, hey, do you have a question for me? If you know me, when I'm interviewing somebody. So.
See, I'm like, I have
feel
questions,
like you know me pretty well.
Yeah, I'm like, I know who you hate the most. I know who on your roster you don't like. It's like I know the answer to these questions. Like I know who you like the most. It's like I know these things.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I don't have any questions because we know each other.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's just. What's the worst gig you've ever done in your career that you just you always go to? Like, oh shit, that's the one.
Okay, this is a doozy, and it has a funny story attached.
Okay.
So I worked with at the Stardome. Okay, in Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama. Got it.
Which is a beautiful, amazing club, and I've done
Hello,
well.
Bruce. Hello, Dina.
Yeah, it's an amazing club, but it depends on who you work with crowd wise. Like I've done shows there. I did one with the guy, I can't remember his name, the guy from Mad TV who does Stewart. Mike McDonald, is that his name? Or that's that's that guy. But that's my Mike McDonald impression. So
that's that guy. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? But anyway, but it was great because it was like an audience, that like somewhat of my audience. Like I've done shows that have done really well.
Okay.
And then I worked with Jimmy Walker, the Dynamite guy.
Dynamite.
Yes. You know who does not find me adorable is older Black people from the South who do not relate to my problems. Okay. And they like I do a joke about getting pulled over. I mean, this was like 10, 15 years ago, but I do a joke about and they were just like, we get killed when we get pulled over. And I'm like, isn't it funny when you get pulled over? It's like, so they were not having. So I had like terrible show Thursday. I was featuring all week. And the opener was Southern. White guy, but Southern. So like they loved him. It really thick. And I come up, I'm a Northerner, I'm a Yankee, I'm like, I don't have any problems. Yeah, I mean, like I'm not like, hey y'all. Like I would have done well if I said y'all just once, but it was like I'm eating it so bad that the manager, I could go short because I'm like I can't stay up. I mean, these people loathe me. They didn't just not like me; they loathe me. And the manager comes up to me after the show and it was like Friday night. He's like, please just come back tomorrow. He's like, please just don't not show up. And I was like, I was considering not showing up. I was really considering it. But it was just, I mean, people, and justifiably, I don't feel like they related to me. And it's like, I don't blame them. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty relatable to a lot of different audiences, but they did not. Like, there's so many barriers. Like, even Southern is tough to break, if they don't like you right off the bat. Like, they feel insulated. Yeah, I only had to do like 20, 25 minutes, but like, I think they cut me down to
25 minutes is a long time.
It's a very, very long time. But I had one good thing because like I ended up leaving. Well, okay, I have two quick stories related to this one. But there was these guys in the these young guys in the parking lot. I left after my set because like I can't stay here. I can't be out when the audience comes out because I can't face these people. You know, like they hate me so much. And like, did you want me to tell the Charlottesville story? Okay, anyway, but that one story I had to call you about. But do you remember what I'm talking about? But anyway, so this guy goes in the audience. He goes, "You were so funny." He goes, "I had to walk out of him because he was like a younger guy, and he's like, you were funny." So that was like I felt better. You know what I mean? Like that like there were people who thought I was funny. It just wasn't the majority of the audience. But that show, I eat when I'm sad, so I'm sad a lot. So like before the show, I went to Sonic. There's a Sonic like across the street. So it's like 7 p.m. The show's at 8 or whatever. I go to Sonic, that like hot dog place.
Yep.
And I get an 1,800 calorie meal. Okay. And I eat it. And I'm like nervous for the show. And I leave the show at like 8 o'clock, 8:30. I leave the show early. And I go back to that Sonic. And I get another 1,800 calorie meal. And the same girl served me. And I was just like, okay, we get it. This is shameful. I ate two 1,800 calorie meals in like an hour and a half of each other. I was so sad.
Crying.
So sad. Yeah, so sad. So sad. So, yeah.
Well, Jessi,
It's one of my worst.
that's amazing. I didn't know that story, and I'm glad you got to share it with everyone. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, you're the best. So,
you are. I miss you. Maybe I'll see you at NACA next year. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It's going to happen in the world.
I kind of like the virtual NACA world, to be honest. The travel.
You know, my virtual shows have been okay. I have not hated them as much as I thought I would. And I've been doing a slideshow. Like, I've been doing, like, multimedia stuff.
I might pop in and watch your next one.
I can't believe you haven't. You said you were going to.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot. I jumped into Kevin Bozeman's the other day just to watch, and
I do get nervous if I know you're watching.
yeah. So there's not a. I guess I could go in under a different name or something, so you don't think
You're like Block Monson. Like who's this? Who's this?
Block Monson. Perfect. We're gonna end on that.
All right.
So, all right. Anybody out there listening need a comedian for anything? Go to summitcomedy.com. Jessi, we love
Chuck
you.
is the best.
Thank
Chuck
you
is
very
the
much,
best.
Jessi, and
Thank
stay
you.
safe and give your
too.
family a hug. And we'll see
I will. You too.
See you on the flip side. All right. See you next week, everybody. Bye.